What's up everybody? Welcome back to Unparalleled Universe for another action figure review, and today we're taking a look at the brand new Marvel Legends 20th anniversary of Marvel Legends, Toad. And this is a very exciting figure because aside from that one time that we saw him in Series 1 20 years ago, we haven't seen another Toad figure in the Marvel Legends line. So it's really cool that Hasbro came back around and gave us this character. And if I remember correctly, the first version of Toad wasn't really even supposed to be part of the Marvel Legends line. It was a part of another line, and Toy Biz just threw it in there because they were trying to get things going with Marvel Legends. So it was kind of a weird figure. It didn't really fit in with Marvel Legends, not of the Toy Biz era, and obviously not of the Hasbro era. So it was kind of a crazy figure. Unfortunately, I don't have that guy, so he's not going to appear in this video, so I do apologize for that. It would have been nice to make the comparison between the two figures, but, you know, it is what it is. I never picked up that figure because, one, I didn't see it that many times, and the few times that I did see it, I couldn't pull the trigger because it didn't feel like a Marvel Legends figure. But anyways, let's go ahead and get into it. Starting off with the packaging, he does come in this awesome throwback Toy Biz Marvel Legends style packaging, and this just warms my heart. I think it looks awesome, especially right down here where it says Marvel Legends. Very old school, very cool looking. Inside the box, we are able to see Toad along with the accessories that he comes with, and then behind him we see the stand that kind of looks like a comic book. That's nice. On the back of the box, we get a look at Toad himself. I think it would have been cool if they included the other figures in the wave just to kind of make it feel more like that OG Toy Biz packaging. But I like the way they put the logos here on the side. It would have been nice if they included Thunderbolts, did they? Nope, they left them out. I remember Toy Biz had personally, you know, I feel like I have to get 2 of these 20th anniversary Marvel Legends figures. I know that's the whole trick. It would have been nice if they made the packaging collector friendly so we could take the figures out and put them back in without a hassle. Unfortunately, they did not do that. So personally, I think I'm going to be getting 2 Toads. But yeah, I really love the way the figure looks inside of the box. But enough about the pretty box. Let's go ahead and open it up and take a look. So right out of the box, I've got to say that Toad is pretty damn awesome. I'm really happy with what we have going on here. No, he's not perfect, but I think he's a really great figure. And Hasbro did a really nice job on him. As soon as he was revealed, there was one thing that jumped out to me as a huge negative, and that's still the case, but it's not ruining my enjoyment of the figure, and that's the arms. They really should have given him new arms to match the rest of the body because his entire body is new, but they decided to give him older arms, and obviously, as you could see, they have the pins in the elbows, which doesn't match the knees, but not only that, it doesn't have any texture detail sculpted on, so it doesn't match the rest of the figure. So that's one thing that right away I was like, oh man, why didn't they give him new arms? It was so close to like the perfect Toad, but then they gave him these old arms. But you know, again, like I wish that he had those arms, but I'm not letting it distract me from how much I'm enjoying this figure. You know, it's one of those things that I just acknowledge as like, you know, kind of a missed opportunity, but there's still so much other stuff to enjoy with this figure that the fact that his arms aren't the way that I would have preferred isn't really taking away from my enjoyment of the figure. But it's definitely a flaw and definitely something they could have done differently. But man, the rest of the figure has so much good stuff going for it. It's very well sculpted, some really nice paint work, and huge fun factor. I'm having so much fun posing this figure around. His articulation is really nice. In fact, I'm going to say that these are probably the best drop-down hips we've seen from Hasbro. And it's something that they've struggled with in the past, but I think they mastered it with Toad. It's very functional and easy to use, and you get the added articulation that you want out of that joint. So they killed it there. The articulation is great on this guy. But yeah, it's a nice figure. I would say that he's a little gummy. Not as bad as like Future Foundation Spider-Man, but he's a little gummy. So that's one small issue. But man, there's so much good stuff going on here that I'm very happy with the way he turned out. But yeah, let's take a look at all the details on him. So I think that Hasbro and Gentle Giant did a really great job with the details on Toad. Starting off here with one of the 2 heads that he comes with, I think this is a great looking head sculpt. I love how they gave it kind of a dirty, nasty kind of look using a wash. And I love how it brings out all the details too, man. Look at that. That looks really, really good. You could see the wash around the cheek and around the chin and around the nose and then on the forehead. Doing that really brings out the details. And for Toad, it gives him like a nastier look, which is very fitting for the character. I love how we have the black around the eyes. It makes him look a little bit more psychotic. That was an awesome choice. And then I love this big, sinister, like mischievous smile. Look at that. He looks like he's definitely up to no good. So this is a great looking head sculpt. I'm very happy with the way the face turned out. And then the hair looks really good too. It's very well sculpted. And then we have some layers of color in there. And it just looks really, really good. So yeah, everything about this head sculpt is very well done. And I really, really like it. And we'll take a look at the other head sculpt in just a minute here. But moving on to the body, he does have this thing around his neck. I'm not sure what it's called. I'm sure there's an official name, but we'll just call it a collar. And the collar is only attached on the back. So it's like plugged in here. So if you wanted to remove it for customizing purposes, you only have to worry about the big peg hole in the back. On the front, it just kind of sits there. But it sits down there very nicely. It doesn't pop up or anything, so that's good. And we have some sculpting work on it. You know, you can see some wrinkles and stuff, so that's nice. Then moving down into the body, and I really love what we have going on here, because not only does he have a bunch of nice like sculpted texture for the clothing that he has on, we also have a paint wash to bring it all out. Only thing that sucks about this whole situation is the arms, because the arms kind of have a very flat look to them and the texture doesn't really match the rest of the figure. But I will give them some credit because they did give the arms a bit of a paint wash, so that's nice. And then we do have the pins. It would have been nice to get like the pinless thing going on, but you know, it is what it is. So yeah, I really wish they would have given him new arms so that we could have the like a matching textured look and pinless joints. That would have been awesome. But you know, as it is, there's enough going on here that I'm not too mad at the arms. Not as mad as I thought I'd be. And then he does have a belt that looks really good, and the belt is like a separate floating piece that can move around as you need it, but the texture on the belt is very well done. Yeah, it looks really good. So yeah, they killed it with the details. And as you can see, that paint wash just carries on throughout the whole figure. We've got the pinless the pinless knees, elbows. I wish we had pinless elbows, but we do have the pinless knees. And we have these things. We have some nice sculpting work on the feet. And I like how these are loose. You could kind of move them around, but they don't like flop around. They're not like annoying or anything. They sit in place very well, but they're loose so they don't get in the way of the articulation. Then same thing on the hands. We have these things on the hands that sit there securely, but they're not in the way of the wrist articulation, and they're not so loose that they're annoying. So yeah, man, I think this is a really, really great looking figure. Almost perfect, in my opinion. If the arms were new, I would have zero complaints about the way this figure looks. But as it is, I really like what we have going on here. I think they did a great job with it. And Toad does come with a pretty good amount of accessories. Starting off with 2 different sets of hands. We get a pair of fists, and then we get a set of open hands. And then he does come with 2 different heads. This is the first one. It's the one that we've already looked at. I think it's awesome. And the alternate head is very similar to the first one, but this time around he has his big old nasty tongue sticking out. The face itself is equally as well sculpted as the previous head sculpt. But yeah, look at that tongue. That is pretty gross. And I like that it kind of has a shiny, wet look to it. And it's super long too. Unfortunately, it's not bendy or anything. It doesn't have a bendy wire, so it's kind of stuck in place, you know, in the position that it comes in. That's pretty much all you could do with it, but it looks awesome and it looks pretty damn nasty. And then he does come with these 2 little toads, and I think these are really cool. As you could see, these are pretty well sculpted, and we have 2 different colors. We have a light brown and a green, and I think these look pretty good. And I love that they threw these in here because you could only include 2 little toads with a character like Toad. So they gave him something unique that only really works for him. But you could definitely use these for other things, you know. So having little random animals is always kind of cool. So I really like that we have these. And then lastly, just like all the other Marvel Legends 20th anniversary figures, Toad does come with this display piece. And he looks pretty cool right there. As you can see, we have this classic X-Men comic book cover where we have the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants facing off against the X-Men. Man, it would be nice for Hasbro to revisit the First Class X-Men. They made a box set for them like a couple of years ago, but it was pretty horrible. And I think that Hasbro could do a really good job with it now if they put some effort into it. So I would like to see them revisit that and just kind of make these old school classic looking X-Men. But yeah, I do like the way this comic book cover looks on here, and I feel like this would make for a pretty cool display, like to have all the 20th anniversary figures like set up like this. I think that would be pretty awesome. And then on the opposite side of this, we have like a swamp scene. And this is pretty cool too, but I'll be honest, even though I'm okay with like how this looks, and I think it can make for a cool display. I do feel like this is a lazy way to pay homage to some of the things that we used to get in the Toy Biz figures. Back in the day, we'd get a figure, a diorama piece, and a reprint of a comic. In this case, Hasbro just kind of merged the dio and the comic book idea into this stand. They went all out on the figure for sure, so, you know, I'm happy there. But yeah, as far as this part goes, I feel like this is kind of a lazy way to pay homage to those elements of Toy Biz figures. But, you know, with that said, I do think there's some potential to have, like, the figures kind of hanging out in front of these stands, like, lined up. I think that'd be pretty dope. But I would have definitely preferred, like, a reprint of a comic and an actual diorama. But, you know, those days are long gone. It is what it is. Alright, so now for some size comparisons. Here we have Toad alongside his master, the Marvel Legends Magneto and the Marvel Legends Pyro. And I think that Hasbro's done a good job of giving us a lot of X-Men villains, especially classic villains like the ones we see here. I really hope that they give us Avalanche and they re-release Blob. That way we could have a more complete Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. I would also love an old school classic Mastermind. I know they gave us a Mastermind kinda in the 5-pack, but I'd like an old school Mastermind with the brown weird jacket to go along with Magneto and the rest of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. And then now here we have them alongside the Marvel Legends Family Matters 3-pack, Scarlet Witch, and Quicksilver. And it would be cool to get these characters in their old school Brotherhood of Evil Mutants colors. And since this Toad kind of feels more like his 80s and 90s kind of look, as opposed to like the old 60s version, here we have him alongside the Marvel Legends Beast and the Marvel Legends animated series Wolverine. And if you want to mix him up with some imports, here we have him alongside the Mafex Gambit and the Mafex Age of Apocalypse Magneto. And I'm really looking forward to that classic Magneto from Mafex. I think it's going to be awesome. But yeah, I think Toad can fit in pretty good with these guys. And then here we have him alongside the Marvel Legends 20th Anniversary Iron Man and Captain America. And I think that Hasbro has done a pretty good job on this whole like 20th anniversary thing. All the figures have been good in my opinion, especially Toad and Captain America. And then next up we have Toad alongside the NECA Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Genghis and the Marvel Legends Frogman. And then finally, for the most important size comparison of them all, here we have him alongside the Marvel Legends Pizza Spider-Man and Marvel Legends Bucky Cap. And the articulation on Toad is really good. There's some areas where it's like the best that we've ever seen from Hasbro. And then there's some areas that are decent, but I feel like they're a little bit more limited than they should be. The main example of that is the butterfly jointed shoulders. I feel like Hasbro just kind of makes it all a little too tight right here, so we don't really get the full range that was originally intended by the sculpt, you know? Like, there's a bunch of cuts and things going on which make it seem like they wanted to give a lot of articulation, but then when it was, like, made, it was just kind of, like, too tight. Like, all the pieces in there fit in there too tight, and we just don't get the clearance that we should. So, I think what I might do is modify this a little bit. I'm thinking if I trim away at the piece where the torso meets the shoulder joint, I might be able to get a little bit more out of it. So, we'll see. I mean, the butterfly joint works okay. You know, it's not horrible or anything, but I just feel like it could have got a little bit more. But aside from that, the articulation on this guy is ridiculous. And I'm having a whole bunch of fun playing with them and posing it around. And it's definitely one of those hand candy type of figures. But let's go ahead and get into it. So starting off at the head, he does have a ball hinge at the neck. So he's able to look up to about right there, which is pretty decent. That'll work. The hair kind of gets in the way a little bit, but the head itself moves a pretty good amount. I do wish that he had movement at the lower neck, though, like some recent Marvel Legends figures. I think that would have been awesome. And they could have put it in there because the way the upper torso is designed. And then he looks down to about right there, which is pretty good. And then obviously, it could look side to side, and we get a little bit of tilt. So pretty good movement at the head and the neck. And then for the torso, let's get his arms up. For the torso, we have a diaphragm cut, which works really well. You can see that we get some pretty good range out of that. Goes back to about right there, which is nice. And then it goes forward to right there, and that's just the diaphragm cut. And then he also has a ab crunch. So the ab crunch goes forward to about right there. And kind of similar to the butterfly joints at the shoulder, it seems like it's a little too tight right in there. So I think what I might do is trim away at the this piece down here and just see if I could get some more movement out of it. The movement on the torso is pretty decent. You could definitely get him into some nice crouching forward poses with the torso. And then we do have that diaphragm cut, which is able to twist and just move around in all kinds of different directions. So yeah, the torso articulation is decent, but I feel like we could get a little bit more out of it with some modifications. But, you know, even if I didn't modify anything on this figure, I'd be pretty satisfied with it. But I just feel like I could get some more out of some of the joints. And then for the arms, we do have the butterfly joints that we mentioned before. And as you can see, they only go back to about right there. Then they come forward to right there, which is decent, but it could be better. And then he does have a ball joint at the shoulder that does go all the way around. There we go. And then you can bring his arms up to about right there. Let's see if we get this one up too. There we go. His arms could get up a pretty good amount. And then he does have upper bicep swivel, double jointed elbows. Bam, there we go. Oh, look at that. Get some good bend on those. Boom. That's nice. And then we have a swivel at the wrist and a hinge. And then now onto the legs. And that's really where they killed it. So he does have drop down hips. And then check these out. So they drop down. Look how far down they go. Then you could bring his leg way up. Look how far his leg is up with him just kind of standing straight up. And if you want to, you know, you could get some more. I mean, you could make it look like it's kicking even higher if you bend his torso a little bit. But look at that. Damn, that's awesome. That's crazy. And then it goes out to the side a pretty good amount. That'll work. Not quite the splits, but pretty good range. But yeah, I really love this drop down hip situation because it helps him get him into some really, really deep crouching poses. And I was not expecting that out of this figure. Like, you could get him to crouch way deep. Now, if the torso had a little bit more going on, you could do even more with it. But this is all just from the hips. Look at that. That's crazy. That's more than some Spider-Man figures that have, like, better torso articulation. But look at that. That is awesome stuff. Gets way down there. I love that, man. That is so cool. And then he does have upper thigh swivel. He has double jointed pinless knees, which look good and get some good range. And then at the foot, there's no swivel at the foot, but you could bring his foot forward to right there, bring it up to right there, and then we have rocking ankles. So yeah, even though there are some areas where the articulation could have been slightly better, overall, this guy's articulation is great, and he's a whole bunch of fun to play with. That's the main thing, right? You want to be able to pose him and have fun with it, and I think that Toad is one of the funnest Marvel Legends figures that I've seen in a while. Just because of that crouch, man, I really love that. It works very well for the character, and it's just fun to get him into those deep crouches. But look at that. That's perfect, man. I'm really having a great time playing with this figure. Alrighty, so overall, at the end of the day, when the smoke clears, the dust settles, and it's all said and done, I think this is a really great figure. Honestly, I think that he's almost the perfect Toad figure, but he falls just a little bit short. In my opinion, if they would have given him new arms that match the rest of the body, and if they would have cleaned up some of the joints so they got the articulation that they're supposed to, this guy would have been pretty much perfect. I would have had zero complaints. I would have been 100% happy. As it is right now, I'm like 95% happy, so that's still pretty damn good. But they were really close to having like the perfect Toad figure. I just wish that they went all the way with it. But even though they decided not to take that route, I'm still really happy with this figure. I think that Hasbro did a great job with it. He looks awesome. It's very well sculpted. The folks at Gentle Giant absolutely killed it. There's a whole bunch of great looking detail, and I like that Hasbro actually gave him some paint applications to bring out some of that detail. That's always nice to see. The articulation, although it's limited in some areas, like the shoulders mainly, the rest of the figure has amazing articulation. And I feel like some of the articulation on Toad is better than we've ever seen on any Hasbro figure, including like G.I. Joe's and Fortnite and all that. I feel like his drop down hips are better than we've seen before from Hasbro. So they did a great job down there, but up top it's a little bit restricted and things could have been better. But overall, the articulation is really fun on this figure, and he's a blast to play with. You know, I've been playing with this figure nonstop since I've opened it, and I haven't got bored yet. So it's a really fun figure to play with. The fun factor is very high. Accessories are nice too. I like that he came with 2 really dope head sculpts. It's nice that he came with 2 different sets of hands, and then I really like the little toads that he has because that's something specific to this character, and it's also like an out-of-the-box kind of interesting thing. Hasbro needs to do stuff like that more often. I'm really happy that they did it with Toad, and I would say that he's still a little bit overpriced. These 20th anniversary Marvel Legends figures are like $32.99 or something. I feel like that's a little high still, but at least I really like the figure. I think I would have been much happier, you know, at a cheaper price, whether it's $24.99 or $27.99. I feel like those prices are a little bit more reasonable for this guy. $32.99 seems a little high, and but still, at least it's a good figure. At least it's not higher price and worse product, you know. In this case, I am very happy with the figure, but I just think a couple dollars off would have been a little bit more reasonable. But yeah, man, I really like this figure. I'm so happy that Hasbro did a good job with Toad because not a lot of people have a Toad figure, and who knows when they'll ever do it again, you know. At least they did a great job with this. Hopefully, if they ever do him again, they make those improvements that I'm talking about. We'll see if that ever happens. But even if they never do, this is a Toad figure that I'm proud to have in my collection. And yeah, everybody who worked on this killed it. Hasbro, Gentle Giant, the whole squad. They all did a really great job. And with that, I think that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Also, be sure to hit the bell notification so you know every time that I go live. If you're not aware, I do go live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. and every Friday at 7 p.m. And I'm also going to start going live on Sundays to talk about comics. That's not going to be every Sunday, but, you know, as many Sundays as possible. So come through, let's talk about toys, comics, and get weird. Thank you very much. Peace.